Hi everyone, this is Tanya the Lady Strange. This is going to be another video. I've done a couple days, so but rather a bit ambitious. Um, for myself, that is. Kind of like the 31 Days of Strange. But whatever the case is, this is going to be sort of bloggy. Of course, it's going to talk about myself, but it's also going to have cards, which are tarot cards, which are one of my favorite things, a staple of my practice that helps me to empower myself not only as a divinatory tool, but also as a magical tool that I use in my magic, my practice, and also in my therapy. The images they get me through different times. They help me to align with different perspectives. And of course, they help me to know thyself and to know thy power and to hail thyself. If you're a left-hand practitioner or just a practitioner, you're probably familiar with those terms. And the cards do so many other things on there. They call me out, they teach me, they show me lust and work in my desire for the images. They create different ideas, and of course accountability, and help me to help others. So yes, so this is going to be a bit bloggy. Yes, it's about myself, but it's going to be basically my year in major arcana from the tarot, the keys and the doors. Now I could actually honestly see how each card in the major arcana, all cards, could actually apply to this year in circumstances in so many different ways and interchangeably for myself. But I chose, 7 or 8 that kind of stood out handful. A lot of them may have more negative connotations to them, or when people see them come up. There is nudity in these decks, as that's how Tanya rolls, the Lady Strange rolls. I like evocative decks and things, well, that may trigger others or trigger myself. Challenge and adversity can be a bitch, but it can also motivate, change, heal, and transform and transmute. So with that being said, I pulled out some ones that stood out, and a couple cards from some of the decks I just had around in my space here that I could easily access. And a lot of my decks live all over the place in my house, but these ones happen to be handy, and they're also some of my favorite evocative decks. So without further ado, if you're used to and watch any of my previous videos and rambles, you know that I have a tendency to ramble. But if you watch this, I appreciate other rambles too. It's what makes us each unique and each of our perspectives and what we have to share. And this will also show you a little bit about, this will show you a glimpse about myself, but also my practices and some of my different decks. So, and get back, I'm filming this in the morning, of course, like I traditionally do with the majority of my videos. So I have, if you are like myself, grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee or beverage. If you're watching this a later time of day or a different time, well, then an adult libation's fine to offer yourself. This is actually just real quick, and I know this is going to be a longer video. Hey, these videos are for myself and for those that actually do find value in them. But this is tea, and this tea is from the Advent calendar I received from my cousin, who is one of my biggest support systems, one of my biggest inspirations, and one of my best friends in this life. He started a few years ago and gives me every year a tea Advent calendar. I actually am enjoying this year's Advent calendar. Out of the majority, since we're on day 22, other than maybe 5 out of that ratio, I have enjoyed the most, unlike some other years. So I love this. It's by Tea Tort. It is sweet orange spice. Orange is one of my favorite flavors, which also plays into magic, the scent, the smell, flavor, and how you interact with things. So grab your drink and sit back and buckle in. I am going to start off with, oh, that's delicious. I love spice and chai teas, so that's delicious. Okay. That's going to give me another 5-star rating, which is at the top of the list. So a nice way, a first taste, as so they say, like the Fiona Apple song says. So basically, we're starting off with, I'm going to pull up my card of the year, which is Justice. Now, Justice is also one of my birth cards. I was born on January 11th. My birthday's coming up in a couple weeks. I will be 46. So yes. So basically, I was born on 111. I'm quite a magic number. 111. Yes. Hence intuition, hence magic, hence intellectual, that Capricorn energies, and that which makes me me and strange. Us Cappies, especially the January Cappies in the beginning, the first week or two of the month of January, in that half, yeah. From my encounters and experience and gnosis, we are quite very unique individuals. Let's just put it that way. But in a good and fun way and interesting to be around. So enough about that. Justice. Now, how has Justice played a part in this year besides being my birth card and being the energies that I have brought into this life with that birth card? But it's also appropriate for Capricorn. Capricorns tend to be, like myself, very analytical, sometimes very driven, sometimes very cold, very earth-based, very determined. But also, some of us happen to have a lot of Capricorns are known for being frugal and resourceful. I'm resourceful. I'm not the best at finances. I am and I'm not. I work for a bank, but yeah, that's enough about that. But basically, how Justice has played a part in my year. Justice has come up a lot in the weekly readings and my personal readings. I do a daily card practice and draw every morning. With different decks depending what calls to me and what I'm working with and what my path working theme is at that time. How Justice, though, plays a part in my life this year of 2024. And as of recently, like I said, a lot has happened sequentially in the past 2 months that have been very challenging and versed, enlightening, traumatic, but also I'm moving forward and getting those takeaway and lessons that are only going to help my soul and myself in this human experience. So Justice is about equilibrium. This is from the Marigold Tarot, by the way. I just pulled from those decks, like I said. So you'll be seeing a few from the Marigold Tarot, the Pythonic, and the Serpent Fire. What go along in these, just to give you an example. Again, there's nudity. So if you're not into this type of stuff, turn back now. You've been warned. But basically, this is from the Marigold Tarot, Justice. Now, Justice played a part in me finding balance and equilibrium this year. Trying to advise me to find the fairness of my situations and look at things through an objective lens. To try to get between the polarities of different extremes and circumstances to find a more balanced self for myself in my inner and outer world. That's how Justice has applied. Now, this is the Serpent Fire one, by the way. Serpent Fire, she's a beautiful deck. I sat back, and luckily I got her because I don't know, she was about to go out of print, so the price went way up when I got it. So who knows, but that was about like 2 months ago, give or take. And then, of course, this came up last week in the weekly collective reading. If you want to go back and check that out, Lady Justice. Basically here, and I love this image. You can, if any of you've seen any old art, you can kind of see what this would be inspired by the artist. Now, Justice also means wielding the sword of knowledge and truth and acknowledging the truth. I have had to face some really hard truths this year to try to balance those scales. Some of those were very, very difficult. But I also have taught me to wield my sword of logic and perception in this. So Justice is also about that, but being fair with yourself, finding forgiveness and strength, and acknowledging what you need to in your life, no matter what that may be, big and small. But also acknowledging that others have justice in their life. That's not be just law, but yes, how law governs us each. in some shape or form, or every form, should I say, but also how justice plays the part and has played the part for me in how I view others and others' past and circumstances and actions. And yes, and how those ones interlink because we all affect each other energetically in some shape or form, even if it's someone we never met, honestly. So, yes. So, justice played a part in teaching me to be more fair, to be more honest. Not that I haven't been honest, but maybe to be more honest with myself in my situation and how I perceive, and how I need to actually bring a more disciplined, fair view for others in their circumstances. Only we know what we're each going through. So that's what justice taught me this year. And it was appropriate. Justice has appeared a lot. It was inappropriate and aligned for my birth year and for my card of the year this year. So they both interlink. Card 2, then I could have done a zillion of these. Well, not a zillion. I could have done all my Reader 20 Arcana. But I'm just doing these rambles and how I've learned and lessons I've learned this year and how these major Arcana stuck out for me. So next is card I pulled at the beginning of this physical year and sort of in the what I call Pagan New Year, which is Samhain. I celebrate each separately and in conjunction with one another. So, it is temperance. Temperance kept showing up at the end of 2023 and a lot in the first. It has shown up the energies, meaning, but also in the first basically 3-4 months of 2024. And then the energies have definitely been there. Now, temperance is alchemy. Alchemy of, yes, magic, if you're a practitioner or of any path or into the occult and learning and knowledge, but it's also the alchemy of self. Seeing the different aspects of yourself in integration of your experience, relationships, knowledge, and the integration of others in your feelings. The blending of opposites, the blending of circumstances. So this has, and patience. Patience, patience, patience. That's what this taught me this year, is patience. All we need is a little patience, like one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs says. So, basically, and this is the one from the Serpent Fire. I just actually pulled just 2 temperance for examples, but yeah. So, this temperance taught me also how to reflect on, besides being patient, on how I'm creating my own circumstances and how I'm alchemizing different aspects of myself and my shadow, and the inner and outer, especially the inner world of myself. And what I want to create and what I'm seeing the world create around me by my circumstances, experiences, but what I have or have not created. And that is also how I have also dealt with temperance of my emotions, of my reactions, and how I respond better for myself and therefore those in my life and for the circumstances that actually truly matter. So temperance has played the lesson in balance, patience, and alchemizing myself and my truth and being proud of myself in all aspects of facing the good, the bad, and the ugly in between, that which makes me me, and me more whole, and me more integral, and me more authentic as myself. So that's how, it's just a few things. Temperance has really, along with that justice, has really brought more challenges, yet it's taught me how to deal with those challenges and integrate those lessons. And to be more inspired and enlightened. Even if some of the things took me weeks or months to deal with, I'm still here. That's always something. So next I'm going to pull out one of my other ones, Hermit. Hermit is a big one. This ties in what I kind of said. This is about introspection, higher learning, spiritual learning. I believe my practice in 2024 on so many levels has actually amped up. I've been connected more so with my deities, entities, my guides. Yes, I have had many moments, deeply intense ones, honestly, where I kind of wanted to, at least for moments or even days or a week at a time here and there, due to my adversities and my own personal challenges and perspectives, which again, I'm not perfect. I hold myself accountable. I'm just a soul living in this vessel, in this human experience like the rest of us. But hermit is, I reflect on myself. So that's what's my truth, my voice, my healing, my solitude. I'm very much an introvert. I appreciate my time alone. My time alone just to meditate. I don't have a highly in-depth meditative practice, but meditation doesn't reflect that. Reading, learning, knowledge, gnosis, reflection on healing. I've healed a lot this year. I've acknowledged a lot about myself. When I've had challenges, I've had a lot of love and support externally from friends, friends and family that matter, and my deities and spirits, but most of all, myself. I relied on myself. So again, you should know yourself, and the answers are often, as they say, are within, and they truly are. Even I need to be reminded of that constantly. So here's the Hermit from the Marigold card. I put in that hard work and effort to myself into starting a slightly journal practice. I have 100% adhered, but it's 100% better than it was in years past. And it's helped me to reflect and go back onto how much I've grown and how proud I am of what I've learned, grown, and what is actually truly limiting me, or the circumstances and root causes. So that's true shadow work, and what's actually come to the surface. Not the fluffy bunny stuff, but the reality of things, but also the good parts of self. That's what the Hermit is. And we all need time to actually retreat or step back. Now that wasn't the Hermit now, was it? That was the Devil. I just did that again in the reading too. Damn it. Sorry about that. Well, you got to see the Devil card, and you'll get to see that again in a few moments. But here's the Hermit. And it's also about illumination and following your inner torch and those torch barrier and illuminators in your life, like I have with those deities. So that's the Hermit. I apologize for that. Obviously, today's a day of Tanya being all mixed up, like the 311 song says, and music popping in and references. But that's what makes me the Lady Strange. So here's the Hermit for them serpent fire. And the Hermit from the Pythonic. Isn't she beautiful? That's the essence of the practitioner in the occult for the Hermit. This depiction is. Again, I love this deck. I'm so glad I got her in my collection along with the others. Now, I'm going to go to next to, instead of the Devil, I am going to go to the Moon. Because I talked about the Hermit and looking within in the subconscious, I will interlink these two. So, the Moon from the Marigold Tarot. So, look at that big prominent moon in that skull. Such a beautiful deck. This deck is very underworld. This reflects on cycles of life and death, but also the subconscious. It points Hades speaks through this deck. It points. And this is how I also sometimes work with speaking with and channeling the dead or mediumship. So, with that being said, the Moon has to deal with the shadow, the subconscious, sleeplessness, what lies beneath secrets. I also see this as what's divine. Divine and divinity is different for each of us, and no matter how religious or what path or what we practice. But it's also about embracing that unknown and dealing with the unknown. Now, I've had a lot of unknown, and I still have a lot of unknown uncertainty at this moment from stuff that's happened weeks ago and even months ago. But again, it comes to the surface and things that I haven't dealt with from the past. That's how the moon has. But it's also illuminated me, much like that hermit energy. A lot of illumination I've had this year in a good, healthy way, and a lot more with compassion for myself. So with this moon, there's the Serpent Fire's moon. I love the different depictions and the different evocativeness that it actually, each of these decks challenges on that in the perspective and what it makes one reflect on, just like the moon does. We don't see life's a journey, not a destination, like the Aerosmith song says. Again, music is being channeled through me. Again, big part of my practice as a woman, witch, and spiritual being. And this one is particularly makes you feel how the different halves of the moon, and the different halves of the tide, and the cycles of the moon, in the subconscious, and also what lies within the desire of what's in our subconscious too, that we're trying to push back, or what traumas we're trying to hold back. This one's going to be a bit triggering maybe for some of you. To me, this is how the moon does feel in her more kind of negative connotation ways. But again, each card has its positive and negative polarities, and mainly the middle ground or middle path. Look at that moon. Yeah, that does definitely remind me of Hecate and Hell in their guises, and Lilith. How it can split you open and also bring to the surface of what needs to be addressed, healed, to actually make yourself a better version of yourself, and therefore for what those and who and what matters in your life. So that's how the moon is. And I am going to now go into the devil. Since I started showing that would be next, and how that kind of leads in. Now the devil in this is, again, I look at the devil in my readings for myself and others as various messages, of course, depending on the circumstances, the other cards that lie in the guidance. However, and this is from the Marigold again, however, with the devil, okay, this devil, and all the devil cards are all different, and I do enjoy them. There is something very dark, because the devil can be very, like the moon, can be triggering. It can say that you have addictions, you have patterns and negative thinking, actions or inactions of what you are, or actions you are doing and inactions that you're doing, and how that is. Things that you need to heal, things that you need to address, and how you're limiting yourself, and how you're limiting others potentially in that, and what needs to be done. But also, the devil is about illumination, and it can be used for enlightenment and truth. The devil brings about illumination to me, and liberation, a liberation from what the habits and tendencies, and things that are holding you back from your growth, your path, or living the best day or life possible for yourself, and how others did that for you. There is beauty and desire and liberation. Of course, I've gotten a lot more and embraced the left-hand path this year, so yeah. But it also has empowered me, and of course, as you can see, I'm doing better than I have been. Trust me. And then I just showed the devil from the Pythonic. Of course, the devils help me to say, this is how your negative thinking, your negative actions, your anxiety, how you perceive yourself and others, and where you're not taking action on, and what you're indulging in, and need to even take small steps to improve, and what to let go. But it's also about how this year with the devil with me has helped me to have more pride due to the Black Lent Challenge. That's where that sparked off. I'm still working on that, and that's going to be a lifelong thing, is being pride and empowered in a healthy way. And in my authenticity, what makes me beautiful, and what makes me also different in how others may not find me palatable. However, I am for those that matter, and so aren't you. Look at it that way. Embrace pride as that. As pride is a healthy, healing motivator. Trust me. And this devil is one of my favorite devil depictions ever. From the serpent fire, 2 cobras, and that is, I work a lot with serpent energy and serpentine, and especially the king cobra energy has come a lot into my life in the past 2 years. It was there before, I know it was, and kundalini energy, but it's the power of the serpent, of the divine, the power, the lust, the truth and desire, and obtaining knowledge and wisdom through that gate of looking beyond and being beyond, being more, being, so what if others don't fucking like you? That's on them, and maybe they're projecting onto you, as we each project onto others. These serpents are the serpents gaining power, or serpents leading to power, liberation, freedom, and truth, to help you to be the best version of yourself, and to find desire, to work with your desires. Now, again, that's not going out and spending a lot of money and doing things that are going to hurt you in the future or others, but finding that wisdom, obtaining the occult if you're like me, a practitioner, getting in touch with your needs, your wants, and desires, and not suppressing them, because that only makes things worse. But even if they're not something healthy, acknowledge them. Use them as a wisdom, and use that things to actually move forward and empower yourself with what you can liberate from the devil also. That's how that's told me this year. It's empowered me in so many different ways and held me accountable. So next, I am going to do, and it will end on these are all have positive, like I said, it will end on a positive thing. But let's do my frenemy next. We're almost done, so thank you for tuning in. Like I said, let me take a sip of tea. Nice and warming. My frenemy, if any of you, most of you watch this, or if you've watched any of my videos, even parts of them in the past, but if you're new here, my frenemy is the Tower. The lovely Tower. So yes, and I did not bring out, I have some floss out here in my altar, my ritual room, and my workspace out here. However, I did not grab any from my favorite deck from the sauce, but that one's pretty much a striking image, and does definitely have a lot of connotation and esoteric meaning to it. So don't these. So basically the Tower is my frenemy, because I always did not like the Tower when it came up, and I still don't. And it it is a trigger. It honestly is. However, I've built different relationships and perspective with the Tower this year. Some of it has really, the Tower itself. This is Kali, by the way, in this one, in the Pythonic Tarot. She's depicted in many of my decks as Kali. Kali is the great destroyer, but she's also destroys what doesn't serve. Now the Tower this year, and how Kali is there's a lot of things that I've needed to face and I should have done, and I haven't done them. So guess what? Tower comes into play and has done it for me. If you sit back and you complain, or you don't do stuff and you know you should, the Tower will come in. But Tower also is, I have also destroyed a lot this year, purposely and inadvertently, which has caused me a lot of things to face. But it's also brought me to create from those ashes, for those foundations that are no longer serving, those things, truths that I have not been holding on to, that have been limiting me, and holding me in that 8 and 9 of Swords type of energy. And the 5 of Swords in self-defeat and 5 of Cups. Those cards have come up from the minor a lot for me and apply to this. Traditional look of the struck down tower. I have felt stricken down. Many have this year that I know or have interacted with. It has 2023 as or 2023. Well, that was a rough year too. That was a tower year. But 2024 has been even more so of a carryover 2023 and 2024 years. But I have also learned that when that appears, there are lessons for me to learn. There's illumination, and there's more for me to get in touch with my magical practice, my obtain of wisdom in the occult path, but also as a human being and as a woman in this life, and through what I'm experiencing in my relationships and how I show up. The tower can be very triggering. It is very negative, and it's often very painful and often not chosen, and of course extremely unexpected. That's why it's a tower. This is from the Serpent Fire. So basically, being my frenemy, it's kind of like someone you don't always want to be around with, but you do find benefits, lessons, and different aspects in it. And at points on that, you learn tolerance and mutual respect. So I've learned mutual respect with the tower and my tower moments and how they've already helped me to move through so many lessons and learn that the opportunities and things that have happened or have not happened and slammed in my face or slammed, let's just put it that way, were not mine or brought about new opportunities or that I need to address. So that's the tower. The tower, my year's been pretty chaotic in many ways, but I've had many things newly created and seeded from those tower moments. So for that, I am proud. I'm proud that I'm building a better relationship with the tower. Next is death. Goes kind of with the tower too, in my opinion. I work a lot with death, hence death energies, hence Hecate, Hades, other guides of mine. Yeah, I work a lot with underworld energies and entities. So no surprise that death would be one of my affinities. Years ago as a reader and practitioner and reading for others, I was not a big fan of death. But now I see death as death. It's not rarely ever a sign of death of a person or a loved one or yourself. Not like this stupid negative connotations or aspects that the media or things want one to believe when they show in movies, books, etc. But death is, like I said in my reading today for the collective, cyclical. You can't have birth without death. You can't have death without birth. Whether it is as a human being, an animal, of the cycles of the earth, but also of plans, projects, relationships. Death has taught me a lot with dealing with what I haven't from the past and in the present and what I need to bring about in the future. To deal with the beginnings and the endings, that they are interlinked. To face my truth and to face maybe what others consider dark or scary or underneath, or maybe what is showing to the surface underneath that others may see, even if I have not wanted them to. It's also helped me to create so much and to know so much and recreate myself and work with those tower moments and those aspects of the devil and the moon and just learning about myself and healing myself. Through death comes healing and purging too, and releasing and making space. Now the Pythonic has 2 death cards, and they remind me of Lilith and Hecate. This one reminds me of Lilith. These 2 cards are part of the huge reasons I've gotten one of the Pythonic. You see, it looks like there's apples and a tree in the background. Kind of reminds me of the aspect that they say of Lilith in the Garden of Eden. But look at that. And also hell, because it has a sickle. And it also reminds me of hell. Hell's face in often depictions, the Nordic goddess, in my opinion, or giantess. She actually steps in and out of my life in different aspects, but is kind of there. Um, is her face is always half veiled. So this reminds me of her too. And the sickle of what she helps to cut away and helps me to cut away of what no longer serves. I don't know if I showed the serpent fighter. I think I did. And here's the other death card. This one reminds me of Hecate and of Lilith and Hell, which again have different aspects to myself this year, and I'm learning more about my practice and my own divine feminine and my ability to cut away and release has, and what they have assisted me with to prune away and get rid of what is dead and not serving, but what to bring about. So death has been a great lesson and motivator in my life in a positive aspect. And yes, it's brought about many endings, but many beginnings. So I've had a year of both. And lastly, to end off with one we consider a more positive card, but they all, as you can see, have had positive motivators and lessons for me this year. In this rather long video, it is strength. Strength is, as you can see here, it's kind of like this one here in the marigold, of looking at oneself or looking at others, the strength of oneself and the inner, and how overcome challenges. This is how I've used my strengths, resilience, wisdom, experience, and truth and compassion for myself, and allow myself to have space and feel those feelings and voice them and be vulnerable to myself, to others, and be vulnerable here on YouTube also as part of that. But strength of how others have held me and lifted me up. My good friends, I have only a few, but they mean the world to me and to my existence. To the family, that does matter. I'm not very close with a lot of my family, but that's perfectly fine. What I do have means the world to me. It also helps with also just the opportunities and pulling from the inner strength and the resilience, but also having that fire and facing the fears, anxieties, and truth, and even how much certain things have failed or I made mistakes and failed. Guess what? I've learned the lessons. I'm still here, and it's things got me through as others have. Here is strength from the serpent fire, and this is also a reminder how much strength has helped me, that we have the strength of courage, our voice, our love, our compassion, our magic, but also our anger, our rage, our experience, our discipline, our will, facing injustices or processing injustices, and just living our day-to-day experiences, no matter what they may seem like. And of course, I love the strength card, so we're going to end on that. That strength has been a great healer, motivator. I've had a lot of strength in my life, and I believe my adversities have only brought me more strength. Because again, life's an ever winding road and challenge. So again, thanks for being with me with this long ramble. I hope you liked some of these cards and found any inspiration. Tell me how any of these major arcana I've showed, like the cards themselves, if you like the cards themselves and the depictions, or if you have any of these decks, or if this is actually any of these cards can relate to you or your experiences, and you feel inclined to relate or comment, or like or subscribe to my channel and to this video, as it helps me grow and know that my content and myself being vulnerable and truthful and my magical practice inspires others, as it does inspires and illuminates and enlightens me. And with that, stay strange, have a good week and a good rest of 2024.